Always sweet Kenzie, how she portrays herself. She's like this mermaid dragon. They know that I'm honest. They know that I'm disciplined. They know that I'm hardworking.
Geez, this Banu guy's getting a lot of content. He must be super important to the season.
Banu, the tribe has spoken.
Alright Jeff, what the heck is going on here? So, the pre-merge of Survivor 46. That sure was something. I actually really enjoyed it, but I have a feeling that may leave me as the odd man out in this case. Look, I have a YouTube channel dedicated to answering random Survivor questions. I like most things Survivor, but a certain contestant got me thinking about the edit. Got me thinking about how big of an edit they got. So today I'm looking at the top several most over-edited pre-merge boots. Let's see if we can figure out who they are and why they got so much content. First I gotta lay out some ground rules. Anyone who was on edge of extinction when the tribes merged does not count as a pre-merge boot. They did not go home before the merge. For a similar reason, any smarty pants in the comments saying Lil and Burton were pre-merge boots will be dealt with. Also, mergatory boots do count as pre-merge boots according to both the Survivor Wiki and Survivor. Shout out Survivor, linked in the description. Let's talk about the math real quick. I first started by just going on average number of confessionals per episode. We have a problem there. First boots. Zelensky got exactly several confessionals in his boot episode. Would you call them over-edited? You better not be around these parts, partner, else we're gonna have a problem. Maybe slightly more palatable, Zane Knight got 9 confessionals in his only episode. Are you really gonna call this genius over-edited?
I'm playing chess the best way I know how, and hopefully, I'm gonna king me.
I also considered just going for total number of confessionals, but that doesn't work either. It naturally skews us towards people who are voted out late pre-merge. Instead, we return to an old friend from 2 videos ago. Check that out once you're done here. I summed up all of the pre-merge confessionals and then calculated how they would need to be distributed for everyone to have the same average number of confessionals per episode. I first tried doing that with just the pre-merge contestants, but that caused their numbers to be thrown way out of whack. No one from Survivor Samoa was seen as under-edited, because they all got pretty decent content compared to each other as pre-merge boots. Russell's screen hogging in the pre-merge wasn't being accounted for. So I summed up all the confessionals that happened in the pre-merge, including those from non-pre-merge boots. For Survivor Borneo, this gives us 328 confessionals. I then summed up all the episodes represented by these castaways. For Borneo, this is 1 for Sonia, 2 for Bibi, 3 for Stacy, 4 for Ramona, 5 for Dirk, and 6 for Joel and the 10 castaways who made the merge. That gives us 81 contestant episodes for these confessionals. We use this to calculate how many confessionals each person needed each episode for the edit to be even and for us to keep the same number of confessionals as before. For Borneo, that's this really long float, which is essentially 4.05. We can now multiply that by how many episodes the contestant was in, and that will give us how many confessionals they should have gotten. Subtract that from how many they actually got, and we can see how over or under edited a contestant was. With that out of the way, let's get into the list. Top several most over edited pre-merge boots of all time. Starting with Jacob from Ghost Island, who received 15 confessionals, which was 13.04 more than needed if we wanted the edit to be perfectly even. Now it's pretty obvious why Jacob got a lot of content. Look at this man. If you say you'd play Survivor like a mix of Tony, Sandra, Sari, and Parvati, this is what I assume would happen the moment you hit the beach. Which, to be fair, is still way better than I anticipate I would do on Survivor. Jacob's edit benefited from 2 things. To start with, he was the first castaway sent to Ghost Island. This allowed him to serve as our narrator and introduce us to this place. A place that was really quite boring. Why have all those urns if most of them are going to be empty? What's the point? The second is that he was a massive mess. Survivor loves messy pre-merge characters. Trust me, a lot more of them will appear on this list. He poured his tribe's rice into his dirty sock because he thought there might be an idol clue in there. he begged the other tribe to send him to Ghost Island for a second time so he wouldn't be voted out immediately. Iconic behavior.
All these pretty people are gonna gang up on me at some point.
What if I just take the truth and kind of stretch it out a little bit?
I would be devastated if I were out first.
Up next we have Lindsay from Survivor Africa, who received 33 confessionals, 15.2 more than need be if we're going for that even edit. Full transparency, my knowledge on seasons 1 through 5 is definitely my weakest area of the show, so a lot of this information comes from reading online, vague memories, and my friend Matthew, who is as big of a Survivor fan as I am, if not bigger. If you're ever interested in a video discussing my views on early Survivor as someone who started at Survivor South Pacific, let me know. Might be a good chance to revisit these older gems. Back to Lindsay. When Survivor was one of the biggest, not just reality TV shows, but TV shows of all time, Lindsay was probably the second most hated contestant after Jiri. Lindsay was part of a 4-person Younger People alliance on the Samburu tribe. Her lazy-ass generation didn't want to work around camp and simply wanted everything in life handed to them, while the older generation was all about hard work. What generation was Lindsay again?
This is definitely Generation X. I'm glad I'm 46 years old, and I'm glad I'm not part of it.
Gen X? Huh. Weird.
You had to go through without an iPod and an app for this and an app for that. You actually had to walk to the store and get milk.
Time is a flat circle. The editors really just enjoyed showing Lindsay in as many negative ways as they could, including having her very first words in the game be this.
I just started my period.
Lindsay also made history being the first player to take part in 2 deadlocked votes in the same season, something I'm pretty sure hasn't happened and probably won't happen since. Also, she was in Eminem's Without Me music video. That's awesome, what the fuck?
Seeing that flag, everyone just wanted to pass out, of course. You know, then Frank was all yelling at us to pick up the pace now that we saw the flag. Frankly, the 4 of us would like to possibly see an older person have a little weak moment in a competition so they can all open their eyes. Our stomachs, you know, they've shrunk, so it's hard to stuff food in there and let them expand, but we sure found a way.
Top 5, baby, top 5. We got Bobby John from Survivor Palau. Bobby John had 35 confessionals, which is 16.08 more than an even edit would have given him. Now here's the real question. Does Bobby John count as a pre-merge player? My brother in Christ, the tribes never merged. There was just one tribe that stopped existing after a while. They even have unused merge buffs from Survivor Palau in this dope green color. Do you reckon Karol was pissed that Stephanie was the only person who got a clean buff this season? Back to Bobby John. It's also clear why he got such a big edit. He lost every single immunity challenge week in, week out, along with the rest of Oolong. He started scaring Stephanie by the end of the season, and he had an intense rivalry with Tom. Palau is such an interesting season to watch. It's such an in-depth look into what loss after loss does to a person, the limits of the human will, and what happens when a group that never had to turn on each other finally collapses. Because of how crazy the story of Palau was and how it unfolds, they couldn't have given Bobby John a smaller edit.
Today's defeat is heartbreaking. A school needlefish swam up and I just shot right in the middle of them and happened to get one. So kind of felt like, like I had accomplished something. We tried to prepare, we tried to strategize, we tried to this, nothing has worked for this tribe. I mean, nothing.
Next up, you know him, you love him, it's...
Dragon Slayer!
Coach!
Oh, did you miss that?
Did you hear me say Dragon Slayer?
Yeah.
I wouldn't want you to miss that.
Dragon Slayer!
It's Coates in Heroes vs. Villains. He got 32 confessionals, which is 16.68 more than an even edit would have given him. Come on. It's Coates. This is one of the greatest Survivor casting choices of all time. The fact that he was on the same season as Russell and still ended up over-edited speaks to just how powerful of a force of nature this man is. Now, Coates did actually play an important role on the season, being instrumental in the downfall of Boston Rob.
Little man.
But I reckon if he was switched with, say, Courtney Yates, he would have gotten just as big of an edit as he did here. You can't hide the camera from this man. No one can stand in his way. No one can take him down.
Unbreakable, unbending, unyielding, Immeasurable, immovable, invincible.
Let me know in the comments if you're a Coates lover or a Coates hater. I used to be a hater, but I've seen the light.
You gotta be weak to be strong. There's power in weakness. Today's challenge, you'll see even fiercer warriors from me.
Fuck, just to do a complete 180 on the tone here, coming in at number 3 we have Colton from Survivor One World. Colton received 29 confessionals, which is 17 more than Even Edit would have given us, and about 29 more confessionals than I probably needed to hear from this guy. I do not like Survivor One World. I do not like Colton.
That little munchkin is about to get knocked back to Oz.
Come on bro, you can't do my man Leaf like that, what the fuck dude? But you can't deny that Colton was a major player in the beginning of the game. Starting with Sabrina giving him the hidden immunity idol, then saying he doesn't believe in handouts.
I love some of those girls, but if they're not gonna give me anything, I'm sorry. Like, I am not the type of person. I'm a Republican, I am not a Democrat, I do not believe in handouts.
Then giving away tribal immunity because he didn't like Bill very much for undisclosed reasons.
Why don't you like Bill?
He's obnoxious, he's loud, and plus, he's a struggling stand-up comic.
I don't get what your correlation is.
Like, get a real job.
Oh shit, those reasons very much were disclosed. How did this happen? How did 8 people collectively go, yes, this is a good idea, let's do that? Bro, Colton can't vote you out if you're not at tribal, why are you doing this? I was actually sad when Colton got medevac this season. When you have someone as villainous as Colton, you want to see him get taken out by a hero, not by some random outside factor. I want to see this man get his ass beat by better players and get absolutely humiliated by the very woman he thought would be his BFFs. I don't want to see this.
Enjoy your last 2 days. You can quit or you can jump in that fire, whichever is more convenient for you.
Get taken out by some random act of God. Speaking of random acts of God, Banu is the second most over-edited pre-merge boot of all time, with 35 confessionals, which is 19 more than need be for that even edit we're after. Banu may not take the cake for most uncomfortable mental breakdown I've ever watched on Survivor, but it's pretty close. Yeah, me too, Kenzie. Banu's over-editing is explained in my mind by the fact that he got 2 separate boot episodes. His first boot episode was in episode 3, where he was probably going home, unless Q genuinely believed voting out Kenzie was a good idea. Then, God intervenes by just paralyzing Randon and saves Banu this episode, only to absolutely dunk on him next episode. God saved Banu just to fuck with him a bit more. That's cruel. With 35 confessionals, Banu averaged 8.75 confessionals per episode. Here's the entire list of people with a higher confessional average per episode, and we're in more than one episode. The list is now complete. Even if you include first episode boots, it's only 5 people. Zane from Philippines, Francesca from Caramoan, Garrett from Cagayan, Tony from Game Changers, and Jacob from Ghost Island. I reserve my judgment for how big of an edit Banu got until the end of the season, but for now I think it was an extremely interesting look at a man who just was not meant to play Survivor. Some people can get up off the couch, and some people absolutely should not.
How to walk, how to talk. So I became a robot. So I'm no longer a Banu. I'm just like, they're like puppeteers and I'm a puppet.
This is it for me. 9 days is what is written for Banu.
My point being on Survivor is not to win $1 million. I want to win 1 million hearts.
But there's one contestant who was even more over-edited than Banu. Not by confessionals per episode, but by how much more content they got compared to the rest of the cast. Coming in at number 1 we have Gina from Survivor Marquesas. She received 39 confessionals, 19.81 more than if we were going for that perfectly even edit formula that I made up one evening, and I'm not entirely convinced is actually a great metric for solving the problem laid out. To understand this one, we need to go back in time. Survivor Borneo, how did the tribes stack up? Perfectly evenly trading blows back and forth? Nice. The Australian Outback? Again, perfectly even. Very well done, Survivor. Africa? Another perfectly even matchup. They're really good at balancing these tribes. Survivor Marquesas. Maramu lost 5 out of the 6 pre-merge immunity challenges. Maramu was the very first train wreck tribe in Survivor. And guess who was on that tribe the entire time? Gina.
Last night, there's definitely flirtation around Rob and Sarah. I want to win this immunity for 2 reasons. One of those is because we don't have to go to tribal council if we win. But the other reason is so that we can send the other team to tribal council. I don't think they're going to vote for me just because I wasn't with them originally. And I might be wrong, but I don't feel that way.
With that, we have the most over-edited pre-merge boots in Survivor history. Now I've come up with a quick classification as to why these people got over-edited. Let's go through that real quick. Delusional, delusional, suffering, delusional, delusional, delusional and suffering. It seems like the recipe to be an over-edited pre-merge boot on Survivor is to either be slightly delusional or be put in such a shit situation week after week that the editors revel in showing your breakdown to the world for our entertainment. Man, when you put it like that, Survivor is kind of messed up. Video about the morality of consuming reality TV when? Let me know if you want to see the under-edited version of this video. There are some pretty eye-opening stats to be found there. Until next time, I've been Henry Hickman Survivor, and I'll see you at the Merge Feast, assuming our team can actually win the Mergatory. Come on, people!